Hey, how's everybody doing? Hey, welcome to Hanging with GZ. Hey, I got a tractor pulling channel called Tractor Pulling with GZ, and I've had several people tell me, they said, hey, GZ, you need to make a video, start making videos of the homestead and what I do, and share some of the old knowledge the old timers taught me here on the farm. I do a lot of farm work here after I get through with my business, and hang out here and do stuff the old remedy ways, and hey, I have pretty good luck at it, and so that's what we're going to kind of do. I'm going to start this channel here. It's called Hanging with GZ, and we're going to share my knowledge, or I'm going to share my knowledge with everybody, and hope you enjoy it. So get subscribed and hit that like button. So one thing, I want you to meet my buddies here. This is Cecil. He's a Belgian horse, and he weighs about 1,800 pounds. And this right here is Badger. He's a Percheron back here. We used to have several Belgians on the farm here, and some of them's passed on, and my dad passed on, and so I just got the two anymore, and I do a little plowing with them and stuff like this around the farm, and anyway, they're my buddies. I come down here to kind of meditate at night and want to feed them and pet them and stuff, because my roots all goes back to working horses in the fields and stuff when I was a kid. And so we're going to share a little bit of that as my videos progress on YouTube, and I might hook on to plow, and we'll plow the garden and let it set over the winter time, and we'll go into springtime and all that. So we'll go move on. So let me tell you a story while we're on here, and I'm down here at the horses tonight. This granary brings a lot of history back to me ever since I was a kid. I wrote a book called Old Timers Are Talking, and it's on my tractor pulling channel. But I wrote a book to just share with my grandkids and stuff. I tried to get in here to see this, but there's a separation in here. My dad put some boards up. Well, we used to put corn in here. We used to go shuck corn in the wagon and stuff, and we'd shuck cob and all. And he'd come up here and he'd back this thing in, and we'd shovel all that corn in this granary. Well, the hammer mill, we'll go to it in a minute. I'll show you how we ground the corn. But we used to have to load corn on this side with a scoop board, and we put a board through here, and we'd throw that corn, and it'd go down that chute, and then once it'd fill up in there in a pile, I'd have to get in there as a boy and take that corn and scoop it all back. Well, we'd do it again, and then build up, and I'd scoop it back, and I'd build it back against that back wall back there. And I was this young boy, You work kids like that today, hey, they think it's a crime or something, but hey, us old farm boys, we had to work for a living when we was a kid. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to show you that, and we're going to kind of discuss some of that as we go throughout my videos and stuff, and maybe we'll plant a little corn this spring, and maybe we'll throw it in there at the wagon. I still got that wagon today. And then this granary over here was where we kept the dry feed. After we run it through the hammer mill, we would take, and the hammer mill's just on the other side of us here, and I'll show you that here in a minute, but we'd put dry feed in here. And it was more, my dad more or less sealed it up a little better than the other one, and it was all foamed at the bottom. He'd keep good tar around it and everything, keep the water from getting in real good. But we'd put a lot of dry feed in there, and we'd feed it to our cows, and we'd mix it. He'd put some liquid molasses and stuff in it, but that's the old ways. That's how they did it back in the old days, and I still do stuff like that today. Here it is, 2018, and a lot of these people, they just go buy it. Well, hey, raise it yourself, and take advantage of it, and carry on in life. Hey, we're standing here at that hammer mill I was telling you about, and here it is right here. You used to put a belt on this thing right here, and it'd go up the tractor, the H tractor, and of course, the feed came out right up here, and we dumped it in the wagon, another wagon, and took it up that granary, and scoop shoveled it out anyway. Y'all had a lot of dust back in. When I was a kid, I probably breathed a lot of corn dust. I was, excuse me, I was opening this thing up a while ago, just to show you what it was, because y'all not familiar with it. Well, anyway, the corn came in here, and then it went down here in these knives and chopped everything up, and it went down through here, and then it blowed everything back up this deal and put it in the truck. Well, let me tell you a story about that hammer mill. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go up here and I want to sit down up here and I'll tell you a story on this hammer mill. But here's a good picture of it right here. Again, it's got a tree growing up. I feel kind of bad, but I gotta get that tree out of there because I want to start using it again. And here's another thing I want to show you. The old pasture, when I moved out here at the farm and stuff, and got the farm after my dad passed, and I want you to see this Bermuda grass. Man, this stuff is, I fertilized it. I got a good stand on 40 acres here. I mean, it's ready for some calves, so I think I'm gonna buy me some calves too. Okay, so let me tell you about the story about the hammer mill. Hey, when I was a kid, you know, we used that old hammer mill a lot. You know, we'd go down, even in the winter time, you know, the corn wasn't ready till about fall, you know, and a lot of times if it rained in the fall, you know, you couldn't get in that cornfield till when it was cold, and you had to be on frozen ground, you know, even to get in that cornfield. And that cornfield's down the hill, and later on, you know, I'll show you some of these little fields and stuff that I play in and with the horses and stuff. But anyway, when we were kids, you know, we'd go shuck that corn, and we had an iron-wheeled wagon, which I'll show you that later in some videos or whatever. I restored it and made a show wagon out of it. But we'd go off down this hill. The barn's right up here, and we'd go down this hill right here with the horses. And my dad had some dairy cows back then, you know. We milked, that's our milk barn down there, an old milk barn. And anyway, in the winter time, them old cow turds, you know, they'd freeze, and they was hard to run over with, you know, and boy, especially that wheel, or that iron wheel wagon. And that old iron wheel wagon got to bouncing on them frozen cow pies. Well, my dad had bought a new draft horse, and he was going to take and go shuck corn with that new horse, you know, going to learn him how to stand, you know, whoa and go and whoa and go, you know, just as we throwed corn in. And anyway, we headed off down this hill, and we got right past the barn down there, and it was kind of funny because the old horse took off, and his name was Bud. And I wrote about this in my book, Listen, the Old Timers Are Talking. And anyway, it was kind of funny because we got to the bottom, the second half of the pasture, which kind of planes out into the flat off the hill, and them horses was still running. And I was a kid, probably about 12 years old, and I was laying in the bottom of that wagon. And I was getting the ride of my life. That wagon was bouncing, you know, on them frozen cow pies and everything. And anyway, make a long story short, you know, my dad, you know, he broke draft horses all his life. He drove them ever since he was a little kid. And our family kind of goes back to Amish, you know, back in the years ago. And anyway, Dad, he'd make them horses run when we got to the flat. Even if they was run out of air, he's still making them run. Well, we circled this whole pasture, this whole half a mile, and then he pulled into the cornfield. And he said, boys, you ready to shuck corn? So we got up and we shuck corn. You know, them horses never did run off, try to run off again. Well, anyway, then we'd come up here, you know, and we'd have you know, a full load. Man, I must be still breathing corn dust or something. I got the coughs tonight. But anyway, we took and loaded that whole wagon full of corn. And we had 2 draft horses usually on it, and we'd pull it all the way up that hill. And down over behind that barn, there's pretty good grade. And that'd make them old draft horses pull pretty good up that hill. Well, then we'd come up here, you know, and we'd turn the corner right here and he'd jackknife that wagon just past that tree back there. Well, the tree's behind me right there. And we'd miss that tree, and he'd back that wagon right up to that door, and we'd scoop shovel it all off. But it was quite a deal, you know. It's something you never forget, you know, the rest of your life, because that's what we did, you know. We fed that corn and oats, and we had our own oats and corn, and Dad made his own feed, and that's what we milked our cows with. I mean, that's what we fed our milk cows with. So anyway, we're going to carry on. We're going to look at something else. Hey, I'm going to tell you another story about that hammer mill. I said we'd go look at something else, but I got to tell you a story about that hammer mill. Hey, can you imagine firing that hammer mill up? Can you imagine firing that hammer mill up today in the neighborhood? That thing makes a lot of noise, you know, a lot of humming noise. You know, I always told people, you know, I fire that thing up, I'd see 3 fire trucks and 2 sheriff and a couple highway patrolmen, you know, because there was some bad noise going on in the neighborhood, you know. And you get a lot of people moving out here in the country around me, you know. Hell, they never heard that stuff, you know. And I mean, that's the old ways, guys, you know. I mean, that's how the old farmers did it back in the day, you know. That's a feed grinder, you know. And can you imagine firing that up, though, today? you'd have neighbors, you know, calling the cops and everything. So I want to get that tree cut out of it, or cut out of the hammer mill down there, and I'll get her all tuned up this winter, and we're going to use her this spring sometime, or this summer, whenever we can get some stuff. I used to get alfalfa hay and grind that and make a goat mix too. So we're going to see what happens, and we're going to carry on, and let's go look at something else. Hey, I just come back up here at the house, my homestead up here where I built my new house and stuff on the hill. And I was thinking, you know, how am I going to end this movie, you know, or this video of my first video of hanging with GZ, you know. And I got to thinking, you know, I'll probably do a lot of goat videos and stuff. I've been raising goats for almost 18 years, and I ain't got the camera on them now. I got them on me, but they're just driving me nuts. They're underneath my feet. You know how goats are, you know. But I want to show you something here. My wife, you know, we used to have this woven wire around here, you know, and I'd be off working in the daytime. I got my own business and stuff. I'm a repairman, and my wife works a full-time job too. And you'd come home at night, and you'd have a goat, you know, with horns and stuff, old head stuck in this woven wire fence. So my wife got to looking around, you know, what's everybody using or something, you know, out here in this goat stuff, you know, because barbed wire won't keep them in, you know. Well, so we went and bought some goat fence and Tractor Supply about a year ago, and goats love to rub. And let me turn my camera back around here. Anyway, goats love to rub, and they have rubbed this fence. I mean, all this is a feeding area, and I wean babies in here. And of course, I got it open now for the mamas because I don't have no babies. But they have totally just tore this fence up. And this is that good fence I bought at Tractor Supply, you know. And, you know, money's tight out there today, you know. So I want to go show you what I did, what I came up with. And I'm most sure some other people's did this. But I learned this from the old timers a long time ago. And this is kind of what I'm basing my channel on. So let's go check it out. Anyway, what I did, my dad always told me, he said, boy, he said, you're going to raise them goats. He said, them five or six wire barbed wire ain't ever going to keep anything in, you know. Well, I had seen, you know, I bought a few goats, registered goats and stuff down Oklahoma and around, you know, Missouri and Kansas and stuff. And I run across the fence every once in a while made this way. And the more I thought about that, I thought, you know something, I better keep them goats in, especially with them tearing that fence up, you know. And I pay good money for that fence up there, you know, at Tractor Supply. It's like, I think, what, $200 a roll or so, you know. But now I want to show you, I'm going to turn my camera back around again, and I'm going to show you what I did. Anyway, I got to thinking, you know, I said, you know, this will hold a goat. So what I did, I put, I think this side's only got 7 on it because I ran out of barbed wire and I had to go back and get some more. But I got 7 strands of barbed wire up there, and they're closer at the bottom. And then I put these posts on 8 foot apart with a stay right there in the middle. So the stay's a little rough getting in there. But down there in the bottom, I'm coming up the other side, and I went ahead and I put 8 posts on, or 8 wires on with the post 8 foot apart and a stay in the middle. And boy, I'll tell you what, it works good because I've never had anything out. And it's kind of funny because one morning I got pairing these dogs out here, and I don't know where they're at right now, but they must see the camera and they might be camera shy. But I took and seen them chasing a coyote one morning. I come off my porch, and that coyote, man, he was carrying the mail. He was headed southbound, and he hit that fence. And I mean, he bounced off that fence. It was funny. I mean, just like a slingshot. And them old Pyrenees got a hold of him, got him down, and I don't know if they killed him or not. I didn't walk down there because I had to go to work. But it was quite the deal. So that's kind of what I did. Built this fence, and I never had a goat out yet, so it works pretty good. Here's kind of a view of my herd. I've got all boar goats, but I think I'm going to go with, I watch a lot of Daniel on Arms Family Homestead, and I think I'm going to get some Kinkos because I know what he means about the worm problems with the boars and stuff. And what I do, you know, I'm good friends with a veterinarian, and I just take stool samples in and have him do a stool sample, and then when I worm everything. So I've got some pretty good goats here. I've had a lot of good show goats. I've raised the reserve champion at the Tulsa State Fair. You know, I've had several pretty good goats from this farm. So this gets kind of a peek of what I got. I got some more out in the other pasture, but I ain't walking out there tonight. Well, so anyway, guys, I just kind of give you a sneak peek at what I got around here and what we're going to do and on my channel, and I'm going to kind of share the old timer ways, you know, that I was taught when I growed up, and you know, hey, it works for me. You know, a lot of people, you know, they go buy this, they go buy that. You know, I try to keep it cheap as I can, because you know, raising goats, you know, they're pretty expensive. You know, you go to pumping a lot of antibiotic in them, a lot of wormer. You know, sometimes people worm when you don't even need to worm, or they overworm, or whatever. You know, and some of them don't even worm. And a goat, if a goat gets sick, a goat's going to die. I don't care what they say. I mean, sometimes they'll pull out of it, but most of the time, if a goat gets down, he's going to die. So I'm going to kind of share some stuff. So anyway, we're going to get started hanging out with GZ, and we're going to get off here for tonight. And you can check out my other channel, Tractor Pulling with GZ, because that's what I do for a hobby, you know. But I wanted to start this because I had a request, you know. Hey, I do a lot of interesting stuff around the farm stuff, and repair a lot of stuff, and fix a lot of stuff for people, you know. And I do it the old-fashioned way. So baling wire duct tape, no, that ain't right. But I do it right, and so we're going to get out of here, and so thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.